Imagine a painter who used his brush not just for color, but to capture the very pulse of life. He studied every muscle, every breath, every glance of the horses he painted. For him, these creatures were not mere animals. Each carried the spirit of an era. This is the story of the man who made the hearts of horses speak through color. George Stubbs, one of the most unique artists of 18th century England. He knew animal anatomy so perfectly that his horse portraits left a lasting mark on art history, combining scientific precision with artistic elegance. Here are 10 fascinating facts about George Stubbs. Curioverse style. Fact 1. Childhood and early years. George Stubbs was born in 1724 in Liverpool, England. At the time, a bustling port city developing through maritime trade, but still quiet in terms of art. His father, John Stubbs, worked as a blacksmith and in tailoring. His mother, Mary Spencer Stubbs, was a kind and simple woman who always encouraged her son's fascination with nature. George was different from other children. While others played, he would sit for hours by the waterfront, observing birds, horses, and the movement of clouds. He saw harmony in nature and etched it into his memory with color. The family was not wealthy. Stubbs had no formal art teacher and no expensive paints. Yet in an old shed behind their house, he created drawings using scraps of paper and charcoal fragments. Fact 2. A self-taught genius. George Stubbs' artistic journey began in a way that might surprise many. He never attended a formal art school. He learned all his skills, techniques, and scientific knowledge entirely on his own. During his childhood, his family wanted him to follow a religious path. His father hoped George would become either a priest or a teacher, but he listened to his inner voice, which told him, "There is a story in every detail of nature." I will tell that story with my colors. His early works were simple. Landscapes, horses, human figures. But there was a difference. Stubbs sought to understand the inner structure of everything. He did not just observe. He wanted to know why they moved the way they did. He spent his youth learning through books, observation, and hands-on experience. At night, he would walk around the countryside, recording the movements of animals, then return home to transfer these observations onto paper. Fact 3. A painter who found God in nature. George Stubbs did not have a formal religious education, but he grew up in a devout family. His father often took him to church and taught him how to pray. However, at an early age, George realized something profound. He saw God not on the walls of a church, but in the world he created. For Stubbs, God was everywhere, in the gleam of a horse's eye, the harmony of a bird's wings, or the dance of sunlight across the grass. Every detail of nature, to him, was evidence of divine order. Some noted that Stubbs rarely attended church. He did not pray in the traditional sense, but painting was his form of prayer. In every line and brushstroke, he felt the presence of God's creation. He once told a friend, "I see the hand of God not in books, but in living bodies." This perspective set him apart from many devout people of his time, bridging faith and science. He believed God gave humans nature not only to live in, but to study. His fascination with animal anatomy was, in essence, a quest to understand divine creation. For Stubbs, every bone and muscle was a part of God's perfect plan. In this way, his art was a form of devotion, the brush a sacred tool, and the painting an expression of faith. Of Act 4, the man who captured the soul of horses. For George Stubbs, a horse was not just an animal. To him, a horse symbolized strength, loyalty, and God's perfect design. He admired these creatures so deeply that every time he picked up his brush, it was as if he could feel their spirit. Unlike other painters, Stubbs did not paint horses just for beauty. He aimed to capture their breath, heartbeat, and the fear or pride in their eyes. In his paintings, horses seem alive, as if they could breathe and yearn for freedom. One of his most famous works, Whistle Jacket, perfectly illustrates this. He painted the horse at life size, leaving the background completely blank. The effect is that Whistle Jacket appears to leap into the void, suspended between earth and sky. Stubbs's message was clear. A horse is not merely a creature of the land. It is a symbol of the spirit. Each horse he painted had a unique character. Some were calm, some timid, some fierce. He observed them as if they were people, believing that divine spark exists in every animal. It is said that Stubbs would speak to the horses while painting, calming them and studying their movements, then move his brush slowly and respectfully, almost as if in prayer. This is why viewers often said of his paintings, "This is not just a horse. This is the world as Stubbs saw it, alive, serene, and divine." Fact 5. A painter who forged his own path. Stubbs never followed trends or fashions. At a time when many painters focused on artificial poses and idealized beauty, he chose reality. He remained faithful to the laws of nature, painting every detail with scientific precision. His style was calm yet powerful. Every frame seemed filled with serenity. There was a theatrical quality in his light and life in his colors. Critics often said, "Stubbs' paintings have no sound, yet everything speaks." Fact 6. His relationship with patrons and nature. George Stubbs had a very different approach to working with collectors. The aristocrats of his time expected him to paint only beautiful, magnificent horses. In other words, to create an idealized, artificial image. But Stubbs never agreed to compromise his vision. He would always say, "I do not alter nature. I love it as it is." For Stubbs, true art was about preserving natural beauty and revealing the spirit of living creatures. This principle not only earned him commissions from aristocrats, but also set him apart from other painters of his era. In his paintings, every horse, every detail, seems to tell its own unique story. Fact 7. Master of color and technique, George Stubbs was highly innovative in his use of color. He used his brush not just for painting, but to create life through light and shadow. In his works, the shapes of the horse's muscles, the highlights, and the shadows are so realistic that they seem as if they could move at any moment. Stubbs also experimented with enamel and mineral paints, aiming for his works to last for generations without fading. This approach set him apart from other painters of his time, combining scientific accuracy with artistic elegance. In his paintings, color and light seem to move, breathe, and live, showcasing the true magic of Stubbs' brush. Fact 8. Personality and character. George Stubbs was not only a great painter, but also a deep and principled man. He was calm, wise, and deeply in love with nature, always staying true to his principles. Stubbs never followed trends, and he never painted merely to make money. He created his works with love and respect. Friends described him as kind, patient, and attentive. He was also humble. Fame and aristocratic praise never changed him. Stubbs once said, "The goal of painting is not to please people, but to understand nature." These qualities made him respected not only in the art world, but also as a person. He was one of the rare artists who sought to bridge science, art, and nature. Fact 9. Family love and portraits. George Stubbs did not only capture horses and animals, he also painted the spirit of his own family. He often used his daughters as models, portraying not just their bodies, but their personalities, energy, and childhood joys. One of his most famous works, The Painter's Daughters Chasing a Butterfly, shows his daughters running after a butterfly. Here, Stubbs is not just painting children, he is expressing his fatherly love, their delicate spirits, and their harmony with nature. The painting also showcases his technical mastery. Light, movement, and detail complement each other, making the girls appear as if they could spin at any moment. Fact 10. Death and legacy. George Stubbs passed away in 1806 at the age of 82. He lived a long and productive life, leaving behind hundreds of works, scientific sketches, and a philosophy of deep respect for animals. Stubbs's legacy is measured not only by his paintings. He was one of the few artists who could transform animal anatomy into art with scientific precision. Works like Whistlejacket remain treasures in museums across England and the world. Through his art, people began to see animals and nature in a new light. Stubbs did more than create beautiful paintings. He set a new standard of respect for animals, nature, and art. Today, he is often called the painter of nature, or even the Leonardo da Vinci of horses. Every work painted by his brush still creates a world that is alive, breathing, and full of spirit. George Stubbs was more than just a painter. He was a genius who made the secrets of nature, the spirit of animals, and the very pulse of life speak through his brush. His works are not just beautiful images. Each one carries a story, a breath, and a soul. If you want to see nature, animals, and art in a new way, step into the world of Stubbs. Every piece he painted will remind you of the subtle harmony and beauty of life. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to stay updated on future Curioverse stories. Stay tuned for more fascinating and inspiring tales.